Well, okay, so we've been talking a lot about the 2020 upcoming election, obviously. We have a lot of nominees for the Democratic Party. How many are we up to now at this point?
10 legitimate candidates, I think we're up to, that what I'd say that I think have a reasonable shot at the nomination.
Okay. Well, I mean, this is going to be a very interesting race. What do you think that we're going to be looking forward to with the American public, obviously with the Trump administration and now going into a re-election time?
Well, one of the reasons why you have so many Democratic candidates is obviously they think Trump's vulnerable. And it was the same reason we had so many Republican candidates. 4 years ago, they thought, all right, after 8 years of Obama, the country's going to be ready to elect a Republican. And they thought Hillary Clinton couldn't win. And they said, it won't matter who we nominate. And they literally tested that premise. And here we are. So I think you're going to have probably another 10 get in, because there is this sense of it's for the taking, or at least a perception that it's for the taking. And I think you have some of them realize, if not now, they're never going to have a chance.
Right.
And if you believe this is for the taking, then you may, if you, let's say, run and lose, 10 years later, you may be too old to run again. So that's, I think, the motivation for it. Look, it's to me, it's sort of a simple proposition. There is a majority that would like to elect an alternative to Trump. The question is, what's that alternative going to look like? Is it going to be more progressive? Is Trump going to be able to scare? We know who this middle vote is, this suburban, whether they live in Orange County out here or they live out in Northern Virginia where I live or whatever. It's the suburbs of America that revolted against the Republican Party in 2018. Will they stay with the Democrats, or will they be uncomfortable with too many tax hikes or whatever? Who's the Democratic nominee? Is it Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders, somebody farther to the left? Well, I think that we know that Trump's going to try to use socialism and all of that and try to sort of exploit that. It really is all about how comfortable is that suburban voter with the Democratic nominee. And you tell me the answer to that, I'll tell you whether it's a big win, small win, or whatever.
It's kind of a scary concept to really think about,
well,
to be honest
that's the other thing. All right, do Democrats care more about whether the candidate that they love agrees with them, or do they just care more about winning?
Yeah.
Right? You talk to some members of my family and they just sit there and say, just give me somebody that can win. I care. Make sure they're not X, Y, or Z, but other than that, fine.
Anybody.
Right. But there are others that say, wait a minute. That's how the Democrats got here in the first place, is that they kept nominating just whatever the perceived electable one was, but it got them nowhere. So I think that's the robust debate we're going to see in the Democratic Party.
Well, we're going through a shift in Congress as well. We've had more women now in Congress than ever before, and it sounds like the dialogue is changing a lot, especially with the government shutdown. What is the conversation that you're hearing a lot outside of the 2020 upcoming election?
Well, I would say it is that, it's funny. My first year covering America, my first professional job covering politics was the first year of the woman. And that the big thing in 1992 was they had to get more women's restrooms in Congress. Because believe it or not, they didn't have enough back then. Okay? It was so male dominated, they didn't even think about that. So the fact is, we're now this is sort of the next generation's year of the woman, where we've come from, oh look, women are in Congress, to, no, women are leading Congress. Okay, and I think that in that sense, that's where you've seen a change in dialogue that I think is going to be permanent. I think it is realizing that more people are realizing, oh my God, Congress is not representative of the country as a whole anymore. It's getting better, but it's still actually way out of whack. Actually, when you think about it, I mean, Nevada, I think now is the one state legislature that's the first one that's majority women.
That's incredible. And it's 2019. How
is that incredible, right? In some ways, right. It shouldn't be that incredible, and yet we're still here. Look, we're still we forget this. The oldest generation in this country that still is the dominant, one of the dominant voting blocs, grew up in a more patriarchal society. Women didn't work as much. Baby boomers, they were the first. And the second was they grew up, they were raised in segregated America. Okay? So we shouldn't be surprised that some of that change is slower for the older voter and will speed up for these younger voters.
Right. So that leads me into my last question as well, is the majority of our demographic is actually more the millennial demographic. Right. So what is it that you think millennials should really be focusing on going into the upcoming election year in 2020? Because I feel that there's a quick divide of those that are very educated, that know where they stand, and then there's those that are just, I have no idea. So what is it that they should be focusing on when they're doing their research?
Look, I would be worried about, it's like, what are they doing? What are they saying about various ways that impact their lives, whether it's the student debt issue that's preventing a purchase of a home, whether it's the issue of how much education is enough education. Forget the cost of it, although we should have had that debate. I think, but when you look at we seem to, particularly, you see millennials, this college debt thing needs to be separated out from credit card debt, and it's turned into what I think is why my theory is why the economy, despite all of this money that's in it, it's not growing. It's sort of we're all middling along because everybody's working, but we're not productive with the work for some reason. And I think part of it is everybody is just surviving. And with that giant college debt payment that sits there for so many in this millennial, I mean, no generation got screwed more by free money. And I say this, it wasn't free, as it turned out, but the perception that it was easy to borrow money, that it was easy for the parents of millennials to borrow money, so universities took advantage of that, jacked up their prices, and what did we also say? Oh, you can't get a good job unless you have 17 degrees. So we kept telling people to go get more degrees, that will get you that six-figure income, that will get you this, and then suddenly you're like,
I'm using that six-figure income
to pay off the debt, right? And you can't afford to buy a house, can't afford to. And if you're not buying a house, we're not making the economy grow even more. So, to me, this economy's not working for millennials, that to me is what I think you're seeing Democratic candidates in particular realizing how influential I think the millennial vote is going to be, at least in the primaries. They're at least touching on it more than just lip service. Now, I don't know if free college is the answer, but something with some sort of debt amnesty of a form, not to say that you just walk away from your debt, but at least the interest of something, because this is stalling an entire generation.
Well, thank you so much. And where can everybody see Meet the Press at?
You can see it. We stream, but anywhere you get it, NBC anywhere in your NBC apps, but also regular old NBC. Regular old linear television works too.
There you go.
All right.
Thank you.